Welcome, everybody. Those of you who are casting ballots, you go. That's awesome. And please do so quietly. I'm Susan Clark. I'm your moderator for the moment here until we elect another one, but maybe it'll be me. We'll see. Before we get started with the warning, we'll just do some announcements. We have Liz Scharf here, who is the chair of the Select Board. We have Zara Vincent, who is also on the Select Board. Vic Dwyer, I think, is on his way, I hope. Randy Drury, outgoing vice chair, is not coming? Not coming today, yeah. And Peter Hood, also outgoing, former chair, can't be present in person, but I believe he is observing via Orca. So I hope you know that your Select Board are the folks who oversee your town functions and the employees, and they've been working since the fall on this budget that you'll be voting on today. Sarah Merriman is here in the back. Sarah, do you want to wave? Sarah! We'll be talking about her. She's not even listening. All right. She is overseeing the voting and many other duties, and she, along with Assistant Town Clerk Cheryl Granfield, organized your excellent town report. Kimberly Hagan is here kindly taking minutes because our town clerk is busy overseeing the election.
Talk slowly, everybody.
Okay. And Kimberly asks everyone to talk slowly. That is her request, and she'll probably say it again. Do we need to give you a microphone, Kimberly, so you can
No, I'll just
wave?
This way, Kimberly.
Okay, great. So we appreciate Orca Media being here to live stream and record this meeting. Where are they anyway? I'm saying that, but they said they would. And they're, okay. Hi Orca. Hello. Hello, Peter. A big shout out to Sabrina Bador for volunteering to create our pasta dinner tonight. Yay, thank you, Sabrina. And that's going to happen right after the meeting is adjourned. Thanks also to Middlesex's Own Persons Brothers Farm on Center Road for providing the local pork for the meat sauce. Red Hen Bakery for donating the fresh bread tonight. And thanks to everybody who has added something to our wonderful potluck dessert. So this meal is free for everyone thanks to the Middlesex Community Fund. And if you do care to make a donation, it will just benefit the community fund. For those of you who have kids here in the room, kids are welcome at town meeting. Just try to, stay mellow so the people around you can hear. And for those of you who have kids at Community Connections, thanks very much to the Community Fund for supporting that. That's free childcare. And a reminder that you'll be picking up your kids at 7 o'clock, regardless of when the meeting ends. And finally, I do want to draw your attention to these blue forms. They have information on Robert's rules. They're helpful tips for you. But the most important tip on here is that you have a question, just raise your hand and ask. If you have comments or suggestions about the meeting, there's a little form at the bottom, so you can give feedback and make next year's meeting better. And if you don't, then please return the form anyway, because we'll use it again next year, and you can save on copying costs. So there's a box in the back of the room that you can return that. So that's what we have for you. I believe Sarah Steedman wanted to speak on behalf of the Historical Society real quickly before we get going. Microphone, yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
Is it on? Hi, neighbors. The report on the Historical Society is on page 56, if you have your town report. We are not a town committee. We are a separate nonprofit. We try to save things from Middlesex. We have a wonderful collection of historical items that we have nowhere to display. We have no home. In fact, our next meeting is May 2nd. It's at Worcester, at the Worcester Town Hall, because our town hall is not accessible for the older people in town. We have a wonderful time. We love getting memories and pictures from people and talking about the history of our town and the future of our town, what we would like it to become. We're doing a wonderful art exhibit this fall at the old meeting house. Of paintings by a self-taught artist, Eugene Chase, who lived in Bear Swamp for many years. And so if you're on Front Porch Forum, we'll be publicizing that event as we go along. We are hoping to create a new website this year, and we welcome anyone who wants to help us in any capacity. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Sarah. Wonderful. Okay. So Vermont moderators are asked to give a brief overview of the rules that we'll be working with today. I've got 8 items for you briefly. Number 1, we're using Robert's Rules of Order, the parliamentary rules for the meeting, except where Vermont law takes precedence. So we can't change Vermont law here today, but we can change Robert's rules with a 2/3 vote if you desire. If you would like to speak at the meeting, you just raise your hand. And when you're recognized by the moderator, please stand up. You'll wait for the microphone and say your name. And even if you just said your name 2 minutes before, please say your name again clearly. We might even ask you to spell it. Don't take it personally. It just really helps. Help out Kimberly here. So Robert's Rules requires that all motions and remarks and discussion are addressed to the moderator rather than to each other. So that helps us focus on the issues rather than the personalities involved. We have got some fabulous microphone runners here today. Lila, Lise, Zeke, Hazel, and Bella, and one more. What's his name? Chase. Okay, great, wonderful. So if you're comfortable using a microphone, please do. We usually have cordless mics, but this time we're gonna do something super scary with really long corded mics. So be patient with that. We'll be running around with those. In order to speak or vote at Middlesex Town Meeting, you have to be a Middlesex voter. The exception is if the Assembly votes to suspend the rules for speaking, for example, to allow a person representing an out-of-town organization to address the group or something like that. So at this moment, can I just see a show of hands of anybody who is not a registered voter in Middlesex? Okay, great. And by the way, pipsqueaks, you guys should be raising your hands. No. So it happens. We have 5-year-olds. These guys are middle schoolers and up, but sometimes little kids vote at town meeting. Can't do that. So thanks for those of you who raised your hand. Thank you for being here. We're really glad to have you, and we just want to remind you that you can't vote. Number 4. Again, please feel free to ask questions. Raise your hand if you don't understand what's happening or if you think a mistake has been made. You do not have to be a parliamentary expert. You can just raise your hand and say, here's what I want to do. How should I turn that into a motion? And that's the moderator's job, is to help. Number 5, a reminder, this is your meeting. The role of the moderator is to help you accomplish the business you intend to do. So if you feel that the moderator has made an improper ruling, just raise your hand. Robert's Rules allows for the group to vote to appeal the moderator's decision, which is a really simple process, and it just ensures that the moderator serves the interest of the group. Number 6, we can only address warned articles. So it is against state law to consider articles, issues that haven't been warned on the agenda. And that means we can't take binding action under other business. Number 7, you can end debate by calling the question. If you feel like we've talked long enough about a thing, you can move to cut off debate. You just raise your hand, you're recognized, and you say, I called the question. We would vote, 2/3 majority would be required to cease debate, otherwise the discussion continues. Most of the time you don't have to do that. The moderator will call for a vote when he or she feels that all the views have been heard, or if there's no more hands raised, and that avoids that 2/3 vote thing. And finally, number 8, there are different ways that we can vote here today. Once we're done deliberating on an article, the moderator calls for a vote. It's usually a voice vote. If you're in favor, all those in favor say aye, opposed no. But we can do it in other ways as well. Another way would be a show of hands or a standing vote. And you can always request that, especially if you disagree with the moderator after the result of a voice vote is announced. Finally, you can ask for a paper ballot or what's called a secret ballot. And this is really, really important option to know about if you feel the privacy of your vote is important. Any voter can move that a vote be taken by paper ballot. And if 7 voters support the motion, then little pieces of paper will be distributed, and you just write your vote and pass it in, and our election officials would count them immediately. So that's how that would work. That's how Robert's Rules works, quick and dirty. We are now going to move to our civil invocation. Josephine Micus is here with us today. Josephine is one of our newest voters in Middlesex. Yay, I know, right? Come on up. Josephine has lived in Middlesex her whole life, and she takes and teaches contemporary dance. She's very interested in science. She hopes to pursue a career in biomedical engineering. And she loves spontaneous dips in the Shady Rill swimming hole with her younger sister. Josephine just turned 18 in December, so this is her first town meeting as a voter. Welcome, Josephine.
Welcome to town meeting. We have come together in civil assembly as a community in a tradition that is older than our state itself. We come together to make decisions about our community. As we deliberate, let us advocate for our positions, but not at the expense of others. Let us remember that there is an immense gap between saying, I am right, and saying, I believe I am right. And that our neighbors with whom we disagree are good people with hopes and dreams as true and as high as ours. And let us always remember that, in the end, caring for each other in this community is of far greater importance than any difference we may have. Welcome.
Last year, when Katie did the civil invocation, I had to move the microphone back down because she was so tall. Now, I noticed you were on your tiptoes. She was on her tiptoes. It's beautiful. All right, thank you. So let's see here. Where are we? We are under Article 1, to elect a moderator for the ensuing year. Is there a nomination for moderator? Yes? Thank you. Ann Greensfelder nominates Susan Clark. Sorry. Hugo Liepman seconds. Thank you. Moved and seconded. Are there other nominations for moderator? It's okay. Okay. Hearing none. All those in favor of Susan Clark for moderator, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Thanks, guys. The ayes have it. Appreciate that. Yay. Exactly. If anybody ever, thank you. If anybody ever really is interested in moderator, I would love to, we could pass it off. We could have, help. We could have a team. I think it would be fun. But I'm glad that I'm honored to be your moderator. Article 2 is electing the necessary officers for the ensuing year, and this is by Australian ballot. So unless there's any objection, we will move on to Article 3. Article 3, to receive and act upon the reports of the town officers. Is there a motion on Article 3? It's just a formality. Okay, Liz moves, and I see Greg Whitchurch seconds.
Sorry, who moved?
Okay, so the reports from town officers, Liz, do you want to lead us off? Okay, great.
Thanks, everybody, for coming. Can everyone hear me okay? I feel like it's going in and out. Okay. So what I was going to do is you'll see on your chairs, there's this page about the flood. So Zara and I are going to walk you through some of this important information about what's happened with the town over the last few years and the costs associated with it. But before we do that, I'm going to do something happier and more fun, and that is to thank two people, actually three people who have served our town. So I want to spend a few minutes sharing our thanks, our board's thanks for these folks. The first person I want to thank is Randy Drury. He was on our board for a couple of terms, and he is leaving. And he was really instrumental in being a very fair and thoughtful board member, and was always able to sort of think about, he was a devil's advocate. That's what I liked about him. He would be able to say, well, what about this? And got us thinking, I think, a lot about just all things related to the town. So we're gonna miss him, and I do wanna thank him. So let's give a round of applause to Randy. He's not here today. And the next person I want to thank is Peter Hood, who is not here today, but I hope he's watching on Orca, and if he's not watching now, that he will watch the recording. So I want to thank him, or we as a board want to thank him for his 30 years of service to our town and to the Central Vermont community, where he has volunteered on numerous boards and community committees. And he was the chair of the Selectboard for 22 years here in Middlesex. And during most of the time that I have been on the board, which is 12 years, this will be my 12th year, I guess, Peter was chair. And just only in the last couple of years when he was living in Colorado and coming sort of remotely back and forth, did it make sense for there to be a different chair. So Peter is a lot of really great things. So Sarah and I would fondly call him Dad because he was always giving us fatherly advice. He's smart, he's thoughtful, he's funny, and most importantly, he's really kind. He thinks critically, and he never made decisions lightly. And he's rationally, and he honestly made decisions based on the best interests of the town, not on something, that would benefit him. So, there's been some tough times in our town, and every budget season is actually kind of a tough time. When back in the day, going over 3% was a big deal, and then it sort of crept up to, let's keep it under 10%. But he would always tell us, when we're at that moment, when we need to get the budget down, he would say to us, guys, we need to go home, and we need to do some soul searching. And so we would all go home, and we'd come back in 2 weeks, and our souls would have figured out how to bring the budget back down. And he was the kind of guy who would, check on you if there was a power outage. He'd plow your driveway if, he saw that it wasn't plowed. He had that great skiing, trail that he, opened up to the community to use. And thinking of snow, we've had a really snowy winter. And I have a funny story to tell, which was maybe 6-8 years ago, we had this crazy snowstorm, and Sarah was like, should we have a select board meeting? And we're like, yeah, we'll be fine. So I could not make it up Center Road. I was in a car that either didn't have four-wheel drive or something, but I could not make it up from the interstate up Center Road. Peter had his truck, and he got a rope out and tied it to the front of my car, gave me instructions on what I had to do, and he dragged me home. And I was screaming. I had my phone on, and I was screaming because I was weaving all over the road. The rope was just like pulling me everywhere. And he dragged me 9 miles home, and by the grace of God, not a single car passed us. I don't know how it happened, but that's the kind of guy that Peter is. Like, he will really go above and beyond to make sure that, people are taken care of.
Nobody tell that story to our town lawyer, please.
I mean, that's the kind of guy he is. He's industrious, he's kind, and he just really is a friend to many. And what I want to say about Peter is, I think, more important now than ever. And, these are, at this moment in time, these are some scary times in our country, and for many of us in the community. And we need more people like Peter. And those are the people who put aside their politics and share their skills with us to make our town a better place. And most of what happens in the world is local, right? Most of what affects us is here in Middlesex or in our greater community. And if we can have more people like Peter who are there to serve and to, help with the roads, like Zara and all her road committee folks. I mean, that's what makes Middlesex and Central Vermont a special place to live. So I hope you will join me now in giving Peter Hood a standing ovation and a round of applause. But wait, there's more. So I didn't show this to Sarah because in the town report, I wrote a little thank you that she edited. And I'm like, you were not allowed to edit. And I said, you can, under no circumstances are you allowed to edit. And she took out the best and last sentence that you aren't going to know. But so I didn't let her see any of this.
Where is Sarah?
Yeah, Sarah, are you here?
She's
Okay, you need to come so people can see you. So Sarah, as we all know, has been an invaluable asset to our town and the board, not just as her work as town clerk, but as select board assistant. So when someone, sees me and says, oh, you're the chair of the Middlesex Select Board, they say, you run the town. I'm like, oh, no, I don't run the town. Sarah Merriman runs the town. And she really takes on the duty of the town clerk, or she has. I need to now, I'll put this in the past. She took on the duty of the town clerk, the town select board assistant, the town crier, the town mayor, and the editor of the entertainment section of the Middlesex Daily News, right? But all kidding, she really knows her stuff, and she's been a wealth of knowledge about all things municipal, and the board has so much to be thankful for in her leadership over the last 12 years, and she's really made our job easier. So please join me in thanking Sarah and giving another round of applause and a standing ovation to our town clerk extraordinaire. And there's more, the flood page, okay.
Fun's
So,
over.
We're just gonna walk you through, I have a much bigger spreadsheet, but my husband said this is gonna scare people and they're not gonna know what you're talking about. And so he helped me turn it into this little one-pager, which, by the way, on the further detail, it should say 1.12 M as in million, not K as in thousand. That's okay. Might have been my fault. And Zara and I, if you haven't met Zara, Zara is our road czar. I just came up with that. So she's our road, she and Eric are our road czars, right? And they have been working tirelessly on the FEMA reimbursements and keeping track of all of the work that has been done by not just our town, but by Dirt Tech, who is our construction team, that's a road crew team that's working on the 2023 flood as well as the 2024 emergency repairs. And so what we wanted to share with you is, I sort of called this also the hard reality, right? This is not an easy numbers to look at. But what we wanted to share with you is that to date, the town, for both the 2023 flood and the 2024 flood, the costs have come in just over $9 million. And technically we're not done yet with the 2024 flood because we're waiting for some hydraulic studies and information about, and actually, talking with, putting out to bid for more permanent repairs for the 2024 flood. So what Dirt Tech did, there was some permanent repairs for the 2024, but a lot of it was just also fixing roads because of the 2024 flood. So to date, we've only received $1.26 million from FEMA. And we are still technically responsible for, at this moment, $7.88 million because we've already paid for this. We've already, given money to the contractors. Some of this money is also work that Eric and his crew did, so that's built into this because FEMA will reimburse us for the work that the road crew did. But we've had to borrow $5 million 3 of that is from Community Bank. Is it Community National or Community? Just Community Bank. And then we did $2 million bonds with the Vermont Bond Bank that were sort of these emergency bonds where you didn't need town approval, and you would just basically use that money to pay for repairs. So as we get money from FEMA, we're required to pay down the bond bank, and we're also, putting some money towards Community Bank, and but we still have a big debt load. And you'll see that under further details, right now on just one of the, on the Community Bank, it's $92,000 is our interest alone, just on that money to date. We also have, so you'll see under further detail, 8.11 million has been spent on the 2023 and 2024 repairs. And we have, as a part of the 2023 flood still, the box culverts that are for...
2 are for Center Road, 1 is for...
Notch and South Bear Swamp. So we've got 2 for Center Road, 1 for South Bear Swamp, and 1 for Notch. And those are costly, and that costs a little over $1 million. That we actually don't have money for right now. So we are at our next meeting going to be kind of figuring out, like, do we have to, there is another opportunity with the Vermont Bond Bank for emergency repairs. And so we will be applying for that like in the next week. And then you'll see down here where it says FEMA approved but not received 1.12 million. That's where it's, instead of K for 1,000, it should say M for million. Those are roads and things and bundles of repairs that we've done that FEMA has says, yes, we're going to send you that money. We were hoping to get like 400 something like today. It may be in our bank, it may not, but it's going to be soon. And then another like 700,000 is coming in like a few weeks. But you'll see that we're still waiting for 7.2 million approval from FEMA. And what that means is that you've submitted all the paperwork to FEMA multiple times over, many times over, but they have not come back to us to say, yes, we will pay for this. Now, just so you know too, FEMA came for both of these floods, and they were like, this is what you need to do. So we've done everything, we've done all of our due diligence, but this is just the process. What keeps me up at night a little bit is, what if we don't get money from FEMA, right? Like, I just don't, no one is saying that we're not going to get money from FEMA, but given the climate in the federal government right now, and the administration's sort of dislike of FEMA, I have worries that like we may not get all of this. We may get some of it, we may get all of it. The best case scenario is we get all of it, including some of the interest on the loans, which they've said. We still will owe for 2023, this is all things being perfect and getting all our money from FEMA, we will still owe 2% of the costs for the 2023 flood and 7.5% of the cost of the 2024 flood. And that has to do with the fact that the state comes in and we have met all of the requirements for getting state aid during these disasters. So the 2023 flood had more state aid or something. They had extra money for us. So we only, would be technically responsible for 2%, and for 2024, 7.5%.
Can I pause you right
Yep.
there? And I just want to say that is because we did the work, so that's the lowest percentage that any town would have to pay. Other towns have to pay more if they didn't get their hazard mitigation plan in place. That's why we're down to 7.5 versus 17.5%.
Thank you for that clarification. So we're kind of at a crossroads where, like, what happens if we don't get money from FEMA? I think that we have to cross that bridge if that happens, right? So we're not going to borrow wondering if we're not going to get the money from FEMA. But we have to also, so there's, just to back up a little bit too, the Vermont Bond Bank has a regular bond. You know how when we asked you, and it was voted down to do a bond for the town hall, that would have been like a 25-year bond, right, over, and you do payments over a certain amount of time. So they have that type of bond, which we could use for repairs. We could say, we're gonna do a $10 million bond for like 5 years or 10 years. But the nature of those bonds are you can't prepay. So we don't want FEMA paying us and then we can't prepay the bond, right? Because that's not how those bonds work. But they do have this sort of smaller pot of money where you can prepay, and that's what we've done twice, and we're gonna do a third time. We're about to do a third time. These are unprecedented times for Middlesex. We used to have like reserve funds, right? And they were always around like maybe 400,000, at lowest maybe 200,000, where if there was a bill to pay and it wasn't in the budget, we had money to pay for it. We don't have that right now. We are borrowing to pay our bills. And it's because of these floods, right? And the costs associated with these floods. If there were another flood like what we just had, I don't know what we would do. I actually asked the bond bank guy, and his response was, I asked him today, I said, what would we do? And he said, well, let's cross that bridge when we get to it. And I'm like, well, I'm not sure I love that. I'm not sure I love that response, because people, you need to leave their homes, right? You need to do repairs on roads. But we have a very tight budget that you're going to be asked to vote on today. And there may be a moment where something happens and we can't make the kinds of repairs that you may be used to because we don't have the money to pay for the extra dirt or rocks or things that we need. We're going to have, a limited amount of money. This isn't like the days of yore where we could say, well, we have our reserve fund, let's just buy $50,000 worth of gravel. We don't have that right now. And, I don't mean to scare you, but these are not fun times. These are little scary times. Which is why, I understand that people didn't vote for the bond for town hall. That makes sense. That would just, that's another big expense. But what this means from you is that we're going to need more of you to step up and help with things, right? Like to help with weatherizing our town hall. Our town hall is in shambles. We're going to need people who know how to use a hammer and a saw and come and help us out because we don't have the money to pay for it. But we need to do, we have capital. This is our infrastructure. This is our, these are our assets. And they're just gonna go to heck if we don't have, more people helping out or more money to help out with this. So long and short is that we are still moving forward as if we're going to get everything from FEMA. We may need to bond, and that would be coming for like a bigger, like the bond, the more long-term bond. We won't be asking you for this $1 million bond that we're going to apply for, or however many millions we're going to apply for in the emergency, because that's already, it doesn't require a vote, and you have voted us in to make these decisions. But if we do a more town, like a bigger bond that you would pay over a period of time to help either pay back some of the stuff that because we're not getting stuff from FEMA, that will happen in probably a month. We will be having this. It's not even a conversation. We have to warn it. It has to be voted on probably by latest in May for a summer, August payment. There's also fall bonds, so there could be, we may decide, we can muster through until the next bond, but we may need to do it the more we know about what we're getting from FEMA. So that's kind of the overview. Do you want to add anything, Zara?
I probably just would take questions if people want to ask them. That might
Is
be.
that through you?
Yeah, questions through me, and these would be on the report from the select board, not questions on the budget. We'll be discussing the budget when we get to the budget article. But reports from the select board or anything that Liz and Zara, FEMA related, now would be a good time to ask.
In stunned silence.
Question from back here, yeah. Microphone right over there. And state your name. And
Oh, my name is Dexter Lefevre. I live on Dolan Road. Been there a long time. You said that you weren't going to ask the voters for permission to borrow the next $2 trillion to fix the roads.
Million? Yeah.
Million, I'm sorry. I was wondering if it was too late to ask the voters anyway. You've got a good crowd here, and it might be wise to consider not going deeper into debt without being sure where the money's going to come from to pay for the debt.
Well, I think just to clarify, we would be asking for money that we know we have to, it's like the 1 million that we have to pay for this summer, that's already obligated. I mean, they bought all the stuff for it, right, and planned for it. So the box culverts is something that has to get done and is already in the works.
And has already been billed to FEMA. We haven't been paid back for it yet, but it was on the spreadsheets that I sent to them for 2023.
So right now, we just don't have that $1 million to pay for that. The other thing that we've been doing with that bond money is actually paying down the higher interest rate for community bank, so that then we have the community bank line of credit. We have the ability to borrow from them again. Have we kind of maxed out with community bank? Yeah, so like the $3 million, they wouldn't give us another $3 million. We'd have to pay down, and we would use that line of credit to just cover things, to float things, right, while we're waiting for tax revenue to come in. Because we've also been using tax revenue. We used up all of our ARPA money to pay for some of the stuff that you'll see on here as well.
On a bond tonight because.
Well, the bond is to do the long-term bond, that requires a vote, that requires a warning, it requires public meetings, it requires you to vote on paper. That's not something we can do on the floor. For what Dexter is suggesting is that we have the authority now, the select board, to borrow from the bond an emergency bond that is not the bond bank money. It's some other, there's a name for it. It's called the MCRF fund. I don't know, Municipal Crisis Relief Fund. I don't know what it's called, but it stands MCRF. And so that's what we have done already, and there's another round. I think it's the final round, and that's what we are going to apply for. And sure, maybe we could do something, but we're going to do it anyway, I think is what it boils down to, because we have to pay our bills and we have to pay for that cover. And I just want to mention that we are not the only town in this situation. There are many towns in this situation. There's Plainfield, there's Moortown. Moortown is very similar to us in the trajectory of what's been going on. Lindenville, Plainfield. So this is not an anomaly. And the good news is that the bond bank is aware of this. Like, they know that that there are, this is not like a moment in time that's never going to happen again, right? They're working on ways to make us have access to money easier than it is right now, large sums of money, than it is right this very moment.
Other thoughts and questions about reports from officers? Yes, August. Here comes the microphone. Oh, you're gonna from two edges.
I just have a question. Is there no state aid?
August Burns.
August Burns. Is there no state aid for these 4 towns you spoke about that have been devastated by floods?
So the short answer is no, not in advance. The federal obligation is about 90%, and based on the 2% for 2023, then the state will cover that 8% that's missing, and then they'll cover what's left of the 7.5. So far, we've only gotten $100,000 from ERAF, Emergency something state
relief or
assistant, and that was just knowing that they will need to pay us, so they sent us $100,000 early. But there's no, unfortunately, they don't say, and believe me, I've been saying this since I took over. I believe in oversight, but for a town like this, $9 million, give us 5, and we will. We've done the paperwork. You know you're not overpaying us if you could just give us $5 million. Unfortunately, FEMA does not see it that way. Neither does the state.
I'll also add, sorry, it just went out of my head.
Sorry.
I'll let you gather your thoughts, Liz.
Yeah.
Other thoughts or questions on the select board report? Well, I know we do have some other. Okay, go ahead.
I just got an email about, so during Irene, Vermont got a community development block grant, and for some reason, the state didn't think we were going to get one this year, but I just got word that there is potentially $68 million coming to Vermont, and there's going to be a public opportunity, I think, like in the next 2 weeks at the Senior Center in Montpelier, I think, and it's also a Zoom link. Where people can share how they want that money spent. But I think a lot of that does potentially go to municipalities. I don't know how it gets parceled out or what it's exactly for, but it is for things like long-term sort of recovery and infrastructure.
Okay.
And that's federal
thoughts or
money.
Questions? I just want to pay attention to the time. I know we talk about the budget at 5:15. Sounds like we have maybe two more minutes. I know we are still on reports from committees, and I believe that we had, was it the Energy Committee wanted to speak? Yeah, well, you have like 2 minutes, so if you'd like to do that, Lowry.
Great. Thank you. My name is Lowry Scharf. Yes, I'm responsible for the typo. Sorry. So I also am the coordinator of the Middlesex Energy Committee, and we're just a volunteer group here in town for the past few years doing fun stuff, mainly to help people conserve energy, right? We're just trying to put out the word of ways to have lower cost living through non-fossil fuel heating sources and transportation sources, all voluntary. So we're just trying to educate. We also have some initiatives like dark sky. We want to help make our neighborhoods darker at night. So like putting hoods on the lights at Rumney. Window dressers project you may have heard about for the past few years. Low cost insulating window inserts. So that's coming up again this year. You can sign up for that. And then, as Liz said, we really do need people to help out with the town buildings, our assets. So the fire station is now over 15 years old, and it is leaky. So we want to do a weatherization project on that. The town hall needs a new heating system, but it is also so drafty that before we do that, before we put in a new heating system, it really makes sense to tighten it up, so our new heating system can work less and spend less. So these two projects really could use some volunteer labor. I happen to have a sign-up sheet. I will put this out there for people to just put down your name and number, and we'll be in touch. And then lastly, on May 17th, we're holding our annual fair. This year we're calling it the Middlesex Community Festival because we want to get beyond just the energy issues. We want to have this as an opportunity for people to come out and have fun, music, food, other groups. So if you have a craft or a hobby that you want to demo, let us know, and we're going to have tables. This is all at Camp Mead, and hopefully some kids events, electric cars, electric lawn tools, just like last couple years. So you can learn about those things, some educational sessions related to home weatherization, stuff like that. So looking forward to seeing you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Larry. Yay.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, because it's 5:15 and we have warned the budget for 5:15, I would entertain a motion to postpone Article 3 to definite time, meaning as soon as we're done with Article 6. Because I know we have maybe a few more town officers that want to speak. Motion?
Second?
Did somebody make the motion?
Oh, I'll make the motion.
All right. Would somebody second? Yes. Okay, and Barb Whitchurch second. Okay, great. Yes. Beep, beep, beep. Thank you. Zara, Vincent, when somebody makes a motion, please state your name. Thank you, Sarah.
Shout it to the roof.
Shout it to the rooftops. So, Kimberly, are you good over there with motions and seconds?
Barb
That was
Whitchurch.
Barb Whitchurch. Yes. So, all in favor of postponing the rest of Article 3 until we're done with the budget, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay, we will move on to Article 6. And as we move into the budget and the other money articles, just note that on page 49 of your town report, there's a chart, and it indicates how much each article costs you, depending on the value of your property. So for every $100,000 or $200,000 or $300 of your property's value, it shows you the amount that that article will cost. Okay, so Article 6, to vote a fiscal 2025-26 budget of $2,026,928 to meet the expenses and liabilities of the town and authorize the select board to set a tax rate sufficient to provide the same. Is there a motion on Article 6?
That was last year.
Nice and loud. Mark Harris moves. And Mary Skinner seconds. Article 6 has been moved and seconded, and this is your budget of $2,026,928 to meet the expenses and liabilities of the town and authorize the select board to set a tax rate sufficient to provide the same. Is there discussion on Article 6? Yes, Mark Harris. See, now what's happening here is that the girls are on it and the guys, see, you guys.
So hi,
Okay,
folks.
okay.
I'm Mark
Next
Harris, Chair of the Budget Committee. I thought it would be helpful at the start to give you folks some context of how we came up with this year's budget, because as Liz said, every year it's a challenge, and it was definitely a much bigger challenge this year. So I'll start with, it was a 9.83% increase that we're proposing. That's about $181,420 for folks who want to keep count. The biggest drivers of that, I'll mention, we sometimes have surprises when we start the budgeting process. That is, we see big ticket items that we didn't anticipate. I think this year one of them might have been the ambulance services from Montpelier. Thank you. The ambulance services from Montpelier. I don't think anybody saw that coming. I'm looking at the select board.
No.
So that was about a $41,000 increase. We do a 2-year contract with Montpelier, and the new contract was quite a bit more expensive than the prior. And so there's $42,000 to the bottom line. That's an increase. We've been doing more work, as you've heard, on grants. So we did allocate $50,000 in the budget for grant matches. So generally, if we get a state grant or some other grant, there's usually a match. And more often than not, it's a 25% grant. And so with probably grants available to harden our infrastructure, I'll say, from the last 2 floods, we needed to put some money aside for 25% matches in case we get some of these bigger grants. Another item I'll spend a minute on is healthcare. Everybody knows the cost of healthcare continues to rise unabated. I don't know if anybody saw the Free Press article about Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Vermont. They are edging closer to insolvency. They had a $61 million deficit last year, which was the highest they've ever had. So we got hit, the town got hit with a 23% increase in healthcare premiums. That's compared with 13% of last year. So that 23% means about $32,000 more dollars in our town budget. Another item is listers' compensation. We've had quite a bit of turnover in listers lately. I think Shelley is now our most tenured lister at 3 years, I think, Shelley, is that correct? So I think this year is the first year that we actually have a full 3-person set of listers. So to compensate listers fairly for their hours, and also to allocate some funds for next year's townwide reappraisal, we had to figure out how much that was going to cost. So the additional lister budget item is about $34,000. So in case you're keeping count, I'm heading toward $200,000 here as an increase. The next thing is gravel for the roads. So Eric and I came to an agreement because he's such a nice guy. And, you know, with all the repairs we did to the roads, of course, you need more gravel to maintain them. So we added $20,000 more dollars into the gravel budget for next year. The other thing not to forget is that last year, at this town meeting, through special articles, we approved the purchase of the new excavator. And the first payment of that is due in this coming budget year. That's another $29,000. So for folks keeping count, the big ticket items alone for increase in the budget is about $205,000. Now, there are a lot of other little increases that are less than $10,000. So to give you a basis of comparison, the first draft we had of the budget showed an increase of almost 16%. And so we have, over time and with effort from folks from all walks of life,
Soul searching.
yes, some soul searching at home or other places, thinks and returns, we have gotten it down to 9.83%. So it wasn't easy to get there. It's never an easy process. But I will say I am very grateful to be working with such a nice group of people, from the department heads, the committee heads, the select board, and the budget committee, because these folks are thoughtful, they're inclusive, and they're committed. And that makes this hard task of budgeting that much easier. Thank you.
Mark? Mark? Mark was going to say something about special articles.
Oh, Mark, did you want to talk about special articles?
I do not.
Okay.
Okay, great. Other discussion on Article 6, the budget. Okay.
Hi, Linda Belt-Bernier, Beltburnier.
Linda took the minutes last year, so she knows.
I appreciate your taking place. I understand this is a very difficult year budget-wise, and I appreciate everybody's efforts. But I would just like to make
a little closer.
I'd just like to make a motion to amend the budget somewhat to reinstate the $2,000 for the bandstand that was originally approved by the Select Board.
All right, so the motion is by Linda to,
No, we only took up 500. I think it's at $1,500, is that
Yeah,
correct?
we didn't take out the full amount, Linda. Did we? Do you see where it is, what page it's on? 59. I thought you asked for 5,000.
No, you asked for 2,000, and I think we passed 1,500. Is that correct? Sorry.
oh, okay, hang on a second. Do we have a second on the motion? And Ron Sweet moves and seconds. Okay. And Paul Bofa is here to speak. Is there an objection to Paul speaking? Paul lives in Worcester, but he is the, I believe, artistic director for the bandstand. Is that right? And a Middlesex taxpayer. He happens to live on the other side of the line.
It doesn't have anything.
Is there any objection?
Oh, we need to.
Okay, so,
Yeah, that was not the
gentlemen,
intention.
we can get Paul a microphone.
Wait, but this is, wait, hold on, this is, how is this to say 20?
Thank you for a moment. So, yeah, just to clarify the geography, I live up the Wood Road, and the town line bisects my property. The house is just over the line in Worcester, but otherwise, yeah, I'm a Middlesex guy. So the story is this: we, as you know, we put on the Middlesex Bandstand program every summer. It's a wonderful community event. We had appealed to the town, as we've done in the past, for support. Last year, they funded us at $1,500, which was fabulous, and we just elected, ahead of understanding all the budgetary constraints that have been described to you, that we would appeal for $2,000 this year. We did that in the fall. The town approved us for $2,000. I recently spoke with Sarah Merriman just in the last few weeks, anticipating this town meeting, and she informed me that we were, what's a good way to say it, we were one of the casualties of the soul searching that the select board very understandably had to do, and we fully accept that. But the opportunity right now to just appeal to the town and say, the bandstand, you know what that is. I don't need to describe that to anyone. I recognize so many of you that come every week of the season and make it a very, very happening community event. We'll be there this summer. We rely on community support, local business support, the town select board, and that's how we roll. We're a volunteer organization in terms of who runs the bandstand, and as you all know, we don't charge a ticket fee at the gate. There is no gate, but we're grateful for the donations that the town residents always share at those events. So, following the motion in the second, we are appealing to the town to reconsider the monies that were approved in the fall, and I guess I'd have to say we'd welcome an adjustment to that based on the circumstances and, fully understanding the budget crisis that we're in. I'll leave it at that, and thank you for a couple of moments.
Okay, sorry.
Can I clarify something? Yeah. I just want to clarify that when people present their budgets to us, we're not approving the budget then. We are accepting your request, and then we put it in the budget, and then we go through the hard thing of having to make cuts. So it looks like we put in 1,500, and you want to increase it to 2,000. It's not fully cut. There's 1,500.
Yeah,
Well, but you can also say you want 2,000, I guess. Where do you think that you don't see the? It's on page 42, bandstand, budget fiscal year 25-26, 1,500.
Sarah,
Which is
did
what
you
we
have a
did last year.
clarification you wanted to make? Come on up and grab a microphone.
Hi, Sarah Merriman, outgoing town clerk. I just want to clarify how the bandstand ended up in the budget, because you're a separate 501c3, and the only time it ever appeared in the budget before was for lawn mowing. And then they redid the lawn mowing when they redid the structure of the budget. Other than that, the town really hasn't been funding the bandstand. It's only very recently. Just want to clarify that.
Okay. So, am I understanding that you want to withdraw the motion? Yeah.
I'm basing my appeal on a conversation I had with Sarah a couple of weeks ago, understanding your explanation of how budget items like this get proposed, and if I'm mistaken about how this, what the status of these funds are, when I, again, based on the conversation I had with Sarah, and then following up, looking at page 59, the bandstand narrative in the town report, unlike other pages where there are organizations, there was no funding listed at the bottom of our page. So if I'm mistaken, I'm happy to stand corrected. If the town is proposing and approving $1,500 again this year, then I say thank you.
Okay.
And,
right.
and I apologize for
That's okay.
confusion.
No worries.
And we'll go from there. Thank you
Great.
so much.
Thank you for your good
So,
work.
Linda, is that okay if we withdraw the motion? Okay, great. Wonderful, thank you. And thank you for all the work that you do for the bandstand. Other discussion on the budget. This is Article 6. We are looking at the $2 million budget. Other discussion.
Back here.
Hey there, just wait for a microphone and.
Oh, God, that thing's going to get pulled over.
Hi there, Debbie Goodwin. So my question refers to, I believe, page 49, where it lists an approximate cost per household value, tax burden per household value. And there's 3 columns, 100, 200, and 300,000. Is it dispersed throughout more property value, or is it just those 3 categories?
Would the treasurer want to explain that? Here, just to grab a microphone real quick. Cheryl Granfield, your treasurer.
Right. Cheryl Granfield, treasurer. That's just an example. It's not based on those 3 categories. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Other questions or thoughts on Article 6, the budget? Are you ready for the question? Oh, no, Dave? There you go. Which way is he moving? There he goes.
Please, help. Oh, wait, I can go around.
It takes a village.
Oh, no.
Here you go.
Hi, Dave Shepard with the Conservation Commission. I actually have a question first. I'm not sure if this is the most appropriate time to bring it up or not, but has to do with the Conservation Fund, which would actually be a special article, so should I just wait till then? Or do you want me to mention it now?
No, it would be during the budget. If you're talking about adding money, yeah, that would be, because there is no article on the Conservation Fund.
Okay, great. I'm actually not going to ask to add any money. As many of you may know, for many years, the Conservation Fund has been funded by the town to usually it's $5,000 a year. Sometimes it's been $2,500. It was $2,500 last year, since we knew that was also a difficult budget year. So we had originally put in a request this year. It was, like some other things, a result of the soul searching. It did not make it into the special articles. And I think, we're okay with that. We understand that. But I guess I would just like to say that hopefully, in the future, if finances hopefully improve, that perhaps we can once again start putting some additional money back into that fund. Thank you.
Do you want to talk about what the fund does, Dave?
Sure. The fund does a couple of things, at least. It's mainly there to help conserve properties. So if you're familiar with the town forest, that was the first project that was partially funded by it. What it typically does or would do is help us to leverage more funds from somebody else. I mean, we did not pay for that project with the Conservation Fund. However, having the fund was really important in terms of being able to get money from the Vermont Housing and Conservation Fund, because you need a local match and you need to show that there's some local support. So it was very useful for that. It was used a second time to purchase an additional property, which gave us much better access to the town forest. Smaller piece, but it was a key piece. And then we also used it to support you may remember the Hunger Mountain Headwaters project, where a very large property that had been owned by a private timber company went into state ownership right at the base of Mount Hunger. It also can be used for stewardship activities like on the town forest, and there's certainly potential that at some point in the future we may need to tap into it for that if we have, the kind of weather we've been getting, if the trail took some damage up Chase's Mountain that we volunteers were unable to deal with on our own, then we might need to try to get a professional trail crew to help us get the trail back into shape. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we are still on Article 6, the budget. Are there more questions or comments, suggestions for the budget?
I'd like to say one thing.
Go ahead.
So one thing that I didn't realize as an early voter here in Middlesex until just recently is in putting together the town budget. The under 10% that we've put together for you, we've had to shave off a lot of things, like Mark mentioned, $20,000 of gravel. When you then vote for the special articles, is that correct? Then that adds. So as you're deciding what special articles you are voting for, because you vote for each one individually, just keep in mind, they're all wonderful, they are all valuable, but this will raise your tax above 10%. And I just want to make sure that everybody is clear on that, because I was clueless to it in the past. Mark?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it doesn't raise your tax by 10%, it's the budget is going to get more than 10%.
Right. The current budget is 10%.
The current budget,
yes. Okay. Mark Harris? Yeah, right.
Mark Harris again from the Budget Committee. I'll try to clarify something rather than confuse folks. We're kind of in a strange year with special articles. I'll just mention that. Last year, so our special articles generally run around in the $60,000 range a year. Last year, our special articles were double normal because we approved the study for the town hall, which was, I think, $65,000. So actually, the way budgeting works, and I'll try to make this as short as possible, is, we have the town budget, then we add whatever was approved as special articles, and that's the new bottom line. This year, because special articles are going to be only half the amount they were of last year, adding special articles is actually going to decrease our budget. I know it seems strange. It's a one-year wonder. We're getting a reprieve because we're having a 50% reduction in special articles this year. So think of it as the one-year wonder, but it likely is not going to happen again. So I just want to make folks aware of that. If you look at the budget line items and you go to the special articles at the end, you'll see with special articles, the budget increase is a little under 6%. And you may ask yourself, how the heck can that happen? Well, it happens when you approved twice as many special articles last year and only half as much this year. So we're making up some ground. Hope that helps people rather than confuses them. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Other questions, discussion of the budget? Yes, right back here.
There she goes, caught her on that thing again.
I got it this time.
Todd Delos, East Hill Road. One quick question, Mark, if I may, and I think it's a pretty straightforward governance question. With the, D-A-L-O-Z.
See how he did that? That was excellent.
I do it a lot.
Spelling your name?
Yeah. It's about the only word I get right. On the ambulance service question, I assume we do an RFP for that kind of town services, or is an ambulance service different because of the emergency nature?
Go ahead. You can answer it.
Okay, great. Microphone over to Mark again. Oh, thank you, sorry.
Mark Harris again from the Budget Committee. I don't know. I know that we have contracted with Montpelier because they're the closest large municipality to support our needs. I don't know if Liz
Yeah.
or
No, so your question again was like, have we looked at other people or?
RFPs and things like that.
Oh, yeah, I think it's because it's the closest, and it's that mutual aid. Maybe Eric, you can describe it a little bit better. Eric's on the fire department.
Yeah, Eric Mativier, Fire Chief. So we really don't have many other options, just because of the proximity of everybody. It's really our only option, unfortunately. So, I don't know if that helps.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, that's.
Other questions or comments about the budget? Article 6. Are we ready for the question? Okay. So the question is to vote a fiscal 2025-2026 budget of $2,026,928 to meet the expenses and liabilities of the town and authorize the Select Board to set a tax rate sufficient to provide the same. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No? The ayes have it. Noes were heard, and Article 6 passes. We are back to Article 3, the reports of the town officers. And I just wasn't sure if we were done with that, if people had more town officer-y kinds of reports or things that they wanted to talk about. Zara, yes.
Hi, everyone. Zara Vincent. Beyond being on the Select Board, I'm also the chair of the Road Committee, which is comprised of 17 amazing town members, and we have done some incredible things to save you guys money on taxes. There's a little QR code at the bottom of Liz's colorful sheet here. That's going to take you to What's Next Middlesex. It's a 3-page write-up about what all 4 teams on the Road Committee have done, and we have done incredible things over the last 11 months. So I hope you will all take the time to read that. Look for the one that's dated for 3/4/2025. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for the Roads Committee or for any of the other committees or officers that have reported in your town report? I just love it when babies come to town meeting. Yes?
Paul Sermonara. I just want to congratulate all the folks as part of the Road Committee. It's been a very productive, quiet, probably a lot under the radar operation. But as Zara said, it's saved a ton of money. The funding group has found a boatload of money that myself, I bet even Eric would not have otherwise have had time as a road foreman or anything like that. And a lot of it's going to go very unnoticed, but as far as the bottom dollar goes, it's been a great group of people, a lot of knowledge, a lot of hands-on experience, boots on the ground type of stuff. So I want to thank Zara for spearheading that, and definitely all the people who've been involved in it. It's been huge for the town.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Who's on the Roads Committee? Stand up, Roads Committee. All right. I know a bunch of you back there. Yeah. Some amazing work in amazing times.
Can I just?
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to also do a shout out to the Middlesex Fire Department and Eric and Jeff Coons, who's always here, isn't here tonight.
He was here, but
he was here. He had to leave. You know, recently, I think it was it this year or the year before, we incorporated you into being a part of the town. So like it's like a town department now. And we've just seen some really great leadership in the fire department and a lot of great new volunteers, and they're still looking for volunteers. And there's some really great EMT training that's available if you're a volunteer. So if that's something that you're interested in, I know that they get calls every month and they stay busy and they do lots of cool trainings. So you should contact Eric if you think you might have an interest. You don't always have to fight fires, right, Eric? You can do other things, right? I have an idea of organizing a pancake breakfast, hunters widow or something, like pre-hunting pancake breakfast. So I'm not going to be a member of the fire department, but if anyone wants to help me with that, that's one of my goals.
Nice. All right. Other questions or comments on reports from the officers? Article 3. Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of receiving the reports of the town officers, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Excellent. Passed Article 3. We are on to Article 4. This is a perfunctory one. Shall the town voters authorize payment of all property taxes to the town treasurer as provided by law and without discount in 4 installments as follows? The moderator has to read these. The first installment will be due on or before 5 p.m. August 20th, 2025. The second installment will be due on or before 5 p.m. November 20th, 2025. The third installment will be due on or before 5 p.m. February 20th, 2026. And the fourth installment, looking forward to May, will be due on or before 5 p.m. May 20th, 2026, except if postmarked by the U.S. Postal Service on or before the aforementioned dates accordingly. Is there a motion on Article 4? Larry Scharf moves. Is there a second? Shout it out. Jan Turan. All right. Article 4 has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments about Article 4?
I actually have a question.
Well, Liz,
So
you're
we're
also
voting
going to have
on
to
something
answer it.
that already happened is because of the way this is, like they shouldn't say 2025 and 2026?
August 20th, 2025 is in the future.
Am I looking at the wrong town thing? No, oh, okay, yep, I am. I'm looking at the wrong page. Never mind. I'm looking at the minutes.
It's okay, you did everything else right. Yeah. All right. Any other questions about Article 4? All right. I am not going to read Article 4 again. I am going to suggest, with your permission, that we say all those in favor of Article 4 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Article 4 has passed. Article 5, shall the town vote that taxes payable in installments will bear interest at a rate not to exceed 0.5% per month or fraction thereof from the due date of each installment? Is there a motion on Article 5?
Yeah, I was looking at the minutes.
Eric Benedict moves, and Mark Harris seconds. Article 5,
Eric Benedict and Mark Harris.
Let's see, any discussion on Article 5? Yeah, these are the boilerplate ones. Okay, well then we will move on to voting on Article 5 as written. The 0.5% per month or fraction thereof from the due date of each installment. All those in favor of Article 5 say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And Article 5 is passed. Okay, we have moved on to the money articles, the special articles. So in your town report, all of the organizations on Articles 7 through 14 appear in order. Thank you very much to our town offices for doing that for us. So you'll just find them flip, flip, flip right in order, starting on page 75. Article 7, shall the town voters appropriate expenditures of $850 to support the Central Vermont Council on Aging? Is there a motion on Article 7?
Greg.
Nice and loud. Greg Whitchurch moves. Is there a second on Article 7? Sorry, I didn't hear it. Rob Penny? Okay. Article 7 has been moved and second. $850 to support Central Vermont Council on Aging. Is there discussion on Article 7? All right, seems like we're ready for the question. Article 7, shall the town voters appropriate expenditures of $850 to support the Central Vermont Council on Aging? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Article 7 passes. Okay, Article 8, shall the town voters authorize expenditures of $4,500 to support Central Vermont Home, Health, and Hospice? And that report is on page 76. Is there a motion on Article 8? Mark Harris moves and, sorry? William, can you bring the microphone down? We want everybody to be, I think that the sound just gets absorbed into the ceiling.
Just to make a motion, William McManus.
Woody McManus.
William McManus.
Okay, thank you. That has been moved and seconded to authorize expenditures of $4,500 to support Central Vermont Home Health and Hospice. Any discussion on Article 8?
That's a great thing.
Okay, hearing none. Article 8, shall the town voters authorize expenditures of $4,500 to support Central Vermont Home Health and Hospice? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Article 8 has passed. Article 9, shall the town voters authorize expenditures of $35,580 to support the Kellogg Hubbard Library?
I don't see that number.
What?
I don't see that number. It's a different number.
Do I have the wrong number?
What, 37,359? You don't see that right?
No, I do, but she said something different.
Yeah, I did say it wrong.
37,359.
Okay. I think I did that thing that Liz did, where I used last year's numbers.
37,359.
359. Thank you. Article 8
No, we
was
just
Central
did eight.
Vermont Home Health and Hospice. Did I do this wrong?
No, that was right.
That's right.
Okay,
Do you want
we're
this?
on Article 9.
Yeah.
I've got
It's
mine right
page
here.
10.
Thank you. Yeah, Home Health and Hospice, 8. Okay, we're good. Okay, Article 9. Shall the town voters authorize expenditures of $37,359 to support the Kellogg Hubbard Library? Is there a motion on Article 9? Barb Whitchurch? Thank you. And is there a second? Elliot Berg seconds. Article 9 has been moved and seconded. Shall the town voters authorize expenditures of $37,359 to support the Kellogg Hubbard Library? Is there discussion? Sarah?
Thank you. This is my other hat other than the Historical Society. I am your Middlesex representative to the Kellogg Hubbard Library. We come to you asking for $1 more per capita than we did last year. One of the big reasons is just like with the town, our healthcare costs for our staff are just going through the roof, and it's driving a lot of costs. I know for everybody here. I also just want to make my annual I want to say that, these special articles together are such a fraction of our school budget. And I am so old that I remember when the school board had to get up and stand for the school budget and say why they had come to that budget, and we've lost that. But the school budget is driving a huge amount of the costs in this town. Okay, so I'm happy to answer any questions. The library serves 6 communities, Montpelier, and then all the communities around it. We could never in our lives afford to have a library of the quality of the Kellogg Hubbard Library on our own. So we each pay per capita, and Montpelier pays much more than we do in order to have the library. We are working hard. The flood decimated the library. We are rebuilding. I'm excited to show you the new basement. It's going to be wonderful. New meeting rooms. The elevator should be up and running next month. And so we have done some improvements as part of the restoration of the library after the flood. I'm happy to answer any questions. We get 500 visitors a day. We're the second highest circulation of any library in the state, even though we're not the second largest community. So I'm happy to answer questions.
All right, questions or comments on Article 9? Thank you, Sarah. Who want to speak about the library? Yes, go ahead.
Hi there, Debbie Goodwin. Thank you so much. I love the library. And the renovations specifically to the basement, are any of those going to help prevent any severe damage for possibly future floods?
That's really a good question. And part of the cost of the restoration is that we've moved everything upstairs, all our mechanical systems, all our electrical systems, all of the systems that might be in flood danger. So God forbid, if there's another flood, our risk has been reduced a huge amount and should be covered by the flood insurance that we carry.
Questions, comments, discussion on Article 9, Kellogg Hubbard Library. No? Okay. Sarah? Sarah, wait for a microphone.
I love the library. I'm a published author. I've written 23 books. I got another one coming out in July. It's going to be so hot.
It's really good.
You know, I know everybody here wants to vote for the library. I want to vote for the library. I have a really hard time with this special article. I have a hard time with this special article because we have cut so much in our town. And $38,000 can pay for a lot. We're a town that's running on a staff of 2. And it's really, really difficult. So that's my pitch. Just think about it. I know everyone's it's gonna pass. I've gone to a lot of town meetings. But this is a hit. Because it hurts people who work for the town and people who, like the listers, are cutting their hours, or the zoning administrator, or all these other people who volunteer when we're spending $38,000 on a library that's not in our town, and that could theoretically finance another part-time person or maybe 2. Here you go.
Other discussion on Article 9, Kellogg Hubbard Library. Sarah?
I would just say that this town, the service that you're getting for your $21 per capita is valid, completely valid, and provides services to this community that are as important to our future and the future of our kids as the very crucial work that the town employees do.
Yes.
Hi, Dorinda Crowell. I just want to say, and this applies to all of the special articles, that to monies going out of town. We don't have the money in town to pay for this unless we add to our debt, which you were told earlier, right now we owe $92,000 in interest. So anything we pay to, whether it's the library or any of these causes, we have to go out and borrow the money to pay that.
I just want to clarify that when we vote for a budget, that your taxes paid for that year pay for the budget. And so occasionally, yes, you heard me say that we had to borrow to pay for some bills, but that's around timing. That's around like that we're getting 4 installments. We don't get all the money today to pay for next year. So we're not borrowing to pay for these things because, I mean, yes, but I guess my point is that I don't want people to think that we're spending more than what we're collecting from taxpayers in this budget. But yes, because we don't have our reserve fund, and we don't have money to sort of float, which is what we've historically done, we have had to go, like, to pay our bills. We've had to borrow to pay our bills. So there's truth to that, but I don't want anyone to be confused about the fact that we're not borrowing extra above and beyond what you don't approve.
Other discussion on Article 9, the Kellogg Hubbard Library. August Burns. here comes the microphone.
August Burns, and I don't know where I stand on that. Those are both compelling arguments. I'm just wondering, can we vote for less?
Yes, you could, sorry, August, you could offer an amendment. You could amend the amount, if or you or someone, if you want to amend the amount down.
Thank you.
Yes, right here.
Sarah Brown Hamilton, North Paris Swamp Road. I just have a question related to that also. So August or someone else could make an amendment to, like, we amend to reduce this amount by such and so. But we can't, that we just approved the budget. We can't then say we would now like to fund a part-time position in the town clerk's office with this money.
No, this is above.
That's not, it could be, that could be advice that the town gave the select board, but that would be a decision made by the select board.
Okay, just clarifying.
But you
what-
passed, we just passed the town budget. This is not, this is a special article.
Right,
Yes.
right, but I'm asking if we could request that, if we at this meeting could say, we'd like to take this money and instead of using it for a special article, we'd like to amend the budget to put in, you know, with respect to what Sarah was saying.
Oh, actually, I'm not sure how that would work.
I don't think you can.
Yeah.
I'm
But you
not
can
proposing
say-
that we
yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
trying to clarify what the
Right.
process, what the options are.
Okay, yeah,
Okay, thank you.
right, yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, you bet.
But someone can say, why don't we change it to 30,000
Or 10.
or 10,000 or something?
Hand right here.
Hi, Betsy Drury, Hemlock Road. I'm wondering how much the other towns contribute towards the library.
Sarah, can you answer that question? Microphone down to Sarah. How much do other towns contribute to the library?
The same as us. It's $21 per capita. I can give you the actual numbers. Montpelier pays about $57.50 per capita. So Montpelier carries the most cost of it, but each of the outside towns pays roughly $21 per capita per year. The mean support for libraries across the state of Vermont is $43.68.
Other discussion on Article 9. Oh, one back here, yes.
Hi, I'm Nikki Welly. I live on Wood Road, Whelley. I work at Kellogg Hubbard Library, full disclosure, so I am biased, but it is a really great place to go. There's not many places you can go these days where you go and nobody's asking you for anything. You can go and find any information you want, and everyone there is really happy to help you all of the time. And so I think with everything that's going on in the world right now, it's really important that we are still able as a town to have access to all of that, and that the people doing the work at the library can have health insurance, which is why it's going up this year. But I just think, yeah. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Other discussion on Article 9, Kellogg Hubbard Library? Hand right back here, yes.
Hi there, Hannah Brown. Hannah with an H, Brown like the color. I live on Wood Road. I don't know if folks in Middlesex are aware of this too, but one thing we know that childcare aftercare is a desperate need for everybody. Kids at Rumney can take the bus after school to Kellogg Hubbard Library now, which is has maybe happened, but is somewhat newer and is every year been taken advantage of more and more. So there is a large contingent of kids from our town. And actually, I know First Student is trying to work with other towns in the district to extend that to other towns. Right now, it's only Middlesex. But that's been an enormous success, and it's filling a need for third spaces. I don't want to call it childcare because it's not. But if you go to the library 3:30 to 5:30, it's a really vibrant community for kids. And it's been a phenomenal asset. So just in support of the library.
So hand back here.
Hi, I'm Mary Jo Lamel. I'm on Portal Road, and my kids are mostly all grown up, but I just want to reiterate what was just said. And even you 32 kids are dropped off at the Rotary and walk to the library. Our library is and I say it's our library. I mean, it's only a mile from my house, but I live in Middlesex. And our library is utilized. My daughter is 32 and she still brings her children to that library. They have special children's things for children. All of my kids spent their afternoons at the library, and I know I'm a mailman now in Montpelier, and I watch the bus drop off like 15 or 20 kids on U5, which is the Middlesex bus, drops the kids off, they walk to the library, and it's being utilized. And imagine if we had to make a library ourselves. We have the services here that we can utilize, and it's a drop in the bucket what we're paying. And you say, what are other towns paying? You look at Berlin is paying more because they have more people. East Montpelier is paying more, but we're all paying the same amount of money. But if you look at the number that each town is paying, we're not paying as much as Berlin or as much as East Montpelier. But I just, every year since I moved to this town in 1995, and ever since I moved here, I've been an advocate of the library and watched the library. It's unfortunate what happened with the flood, but the library is a resource that we all need.
All right. Are we ready for the question on Article 9? Is there more discussion on Article 9? Looks like we're ready for the question. Oh, one more hand in the back.
Hi, I'm Fred McCullough, McCullough Hill Road. For years and years, I've seen this article come up. I've spoken out against it several times. I wonder if there's a way that we can augment their needs by increasing the cost of a library card or something of that nature to stop the drastic increase in cost. That's, I would like to make a motion to fund the library for $20,000. That's where I'm at.
All right. So I'm hearing a motion to reduce from $37,359 to $20,000. Is that right, Fred? Do I have that right? We want to reduce it from 37 to 20? Yes. Okay, great. And I also heard that it doesn't sound like it's part of the motion, but an inquiry in terms of other ways to fund the library, like through more expensive library cards for people who weren't? Yeah, okay. So that would be an inquiry that we can maybe hear from the library about after we have this. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to reduce the Article 9 figure of $37,359 down to $20,000. Is there a second? Okay, yes. Paul Sermonara is a second. Okay. So it's been moved and seconded to reduce Article 9 from $37,359 to $20,000. Is there discussion on the amendment? Yes.
Hi, Stacy Skadberg, warm body running for Select Board. So I think Sarah made a really excellent point that all of these line items, every single one in the budget, involves some kind of trade-off. What we're paying for one thing, and we're probably going to have to give up something else in exchange, because last I checked, money doesn't just come from the air. That being said, I've only been to relatively few town meetings, but every time it seems like this library special article gets a lot of attention and a robust debate because it happens to be the biggest ticket special article. I would invite everyone to think about what the real value is of having a safe, affirming third space for people in our community that also facilitates the free access to information, regardless of your political orientation, regardless of your identity, regardless of how you look or how you feel about yourself. I think that service is invaluable, and it is hard to hear that folks would want to cut our contribution to that as a way to save, when the value of what we get out of having a robust, vibrant library in our community is, by my opinion, priceless, immeasurable. So I strongly oppose this unilateral reduction to the article. I actually would prefer that we give the library more to recognize all of the things that it gives back to us. Again, I have some bias. I am a frequent flyer of the library. I use it on a weekly basis. My son uses it on a weekly basis. So I suppose that I've got a lot of skin in the game, because if our library wasn't what it was, I really don't know what I would do or how I would get my audiobooks or my paper books or my sorry, I don't know where my son would go to have tutoring weekly. There's just so many things that it does for the community. So, and I don't think we can put a price tag on that. But I feel like the ask they've made in the original article is reasonable. So, thank you.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is to reduce Article 9 from $37,359 down to $20,000. Is there other discussion on the amendment? Yes.
Elliot Berg. I had a question for Sarah, if you're still here. So just so I understand, this is basically cutting our contribution to the library in half, more or less. So does that mean the savings to each person in town would be approximately $10? If the per capita expense is 21, or per capita contribution is 21, so we're talking about roughly a per capita savings of $10. Okay, just want to understand what's at stake.
Yeah, you can hand that microphone to Sarah if she wants to reply, because...
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Yes, it would save you something around that. I forgot to say one thing, because Fred's suggestion that we look for other ways for the library to be able to be funded. There is a strategic plan survey. There's a QR code on the door as you go out of this building, and it would be wonderful if you replied to that survey and suggested other alternative ways. We do about 19% of the library's funding is through fundraising that we do out in the community, and then we get about 25% from our reserves and our endowment. So we are trying every way that we can to raise money from businesses and people and resources that can contribute more. We're doing our very best. We're running this whole library with a staff of 13. So I hear you, but we're doing a good job.
Yes, back here. We're talking about the amendment to amend this down to $20,000.
Hey, John Demeter from Brook Road. So just to respond, I think in a little more detail to that point, the $21 is per capita. The taxes are collected based on your property value. So if you're the mean or median property value in town, it'll save you $10. So I don't know what that number is, whether it's 180, 200, 220,000. So if your property is worth $100,000, it'll save you $5. So, big savings. If you own, if you're fortunate enough to have like $1 million or $2 or $3 million property, you might be saving upwards of 50 or 100 whole dollars. But yeah, the 21 isn't evenly distributed. It's going to be proportional based on what your property value is that you're paying taxes on. And don't forget the state adjustments for, oh no, that's just education. Forget about that.
Yeah, okay. Other comments on the amendment? Microphone back here.
Kyle Landis Marinella. You can just do Kyle for the notes. I think that if we lessen the amount that we pay, I remember one of the other towns doing this a number of years ago, and then the library can then charge individual members for the library card. I think that is how they respond if you give less than the full amount. So that would concern me. I wouldn't want a kid to go up to check out a book and be told they can't get it until their parents cough up $10 or $20 or something and be turned away from getting the free resources that the libraries provide. So I would oppose the amendment.
Other discussion on the amendment? Yes, Larry, right here.
Do some jump roping. I worry that with federal cuts happening or potentially happening, that we're going to have less coming into Vermont for things that benefit kids and the community, and we need to keep bulwarks like this in place that are public spaces and educational spaces.
Other discussion, in particular, folks who would like to speak in favor of the amendment? Feel free. Yes, right here.
Hi, Susan Bettman, North Bear Swamp. In the past, it's been said that the library is a common good, and we haven't heard that here tonight exactly, but I would vote for that.
Are you ready for the question on the amendment, or is there more discussion? All right, so what we're voting on is whether to reduce Article 9 from $37,359 to $20,000. That is the amendment. All those in favor of that amendment say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? No. The noes have it. Ayes were heard. Okay, so we are back to Article 9 as originally warned. Shall the town voters authorize expenditures of $37,359 to support the Kelly Covered Library? Is there any further discussion before we move on to the article? Okay, well then we'll just vote on this article, $37,359 to support the Kelly Covered Library. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? The ayes have it, and noes were heard. Thank you. We're on Article 10. Shall the town voters authorize expenditures of $6,000 to support the Montpelier Senior Activity Center? Is there a motion on Article 10? Yes. Nice and loud. Hugo.
Hugo Leitman.
Just want to make sure.
I move the article. My name is Hugo Leitman.
Thank you. Okay, Article 10 has been moved. Is there a second? Anthony Polina seconds. Article 10 has been moved and second. $6,000 to support the Montpelier Senior Activity Center. Is there any discussion on Article 6? Sorry, $6,000, Article 10, yes. All right, doesn't look, oh, yes, right here?
Mark Bushnell. I'm not that familiar with the Senior Activity Center, and so I noticed some of the other organizations talk about how much usage they get from Middlesex residents. And I mean, I noticed, like, for years, the Meals on Wheels didn't provide that information. Now it hopefully does. Do we have any sense of, I mean, you can see the range of programs, but are a lot of Middlesex people using this? Because it's also a decent chunk of change they're asking for.
Question of how many people in Middlesex use the Montpelier Senior Activity Center. Is there somebody who wants to speak on behalf of the Senior Activity Center? Here, some people. Okay, Mary Beth or Nancy? Yeah.
Hi, Mary Beth Domansky, D-O-M-A-N-S-K-I. I didn't come prepared to talk about Montpelier Senior Activity Center. I thought I'd be talking about youth mentoring or community harvest, but I do use the Montpelier Senior Center 5 days a week. And I don't have any data because I wasn't prepared to talk about this one, but I can tell you that there are many, I wish I did know the numbers, many Middlesex people that are there either taking yoga or painting or doing art classes or qigong, whatever. Lots and lots of, yeah, I wish I did know the data. But it's a wonderful resource also, quite a variety. There's also meals. I don't use that, but there are weekly meals there, and it's a place for people to try to stay fit so they can keep shoveling all winter if you live in Middlesex. So I think it's a really valuable asset, as is our library. Our community doesn't end where the road turns from, Route 12 Middlesex into Elm Street. It's still our community, and we use those resources. So, anyway.
Thank you. Is there anybody from the community center who has that data? Or maybe those of you who go there can tell them next year we want data. Anyone else like to speak to Article 10? Okay, I'm ready for that question. Shall the town voters authorize expenditures of $6,000 to support the Montpelier Senior Activity Center? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're on Article 11. Shall the town voters authorize expenditures of $2,500 to support the North Branch Nature Center? Is there an motion? Jan Teron moves. Is there a second on Article 11? Your name nice and loud. Yeah, it sounds like Mark Harris is seconding. So, Article 11, shall the town voters authorize expenditures of $2,500 in support of the North Branch Nature Center? Is discussion on that? Anybody here to speak for the Nature Center or? Against? No discussion on the North Branch Nature Center. All right. Are you ready for the question? Shall the town voters authorize expenditures of $2,500 to support the North Branch Nature Center? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Article 11 passes. Article 12, shall the town voters authorize expenditures of $7,500 to support the Waterbury Area Senior Center Association Meals on Wheels program, which serves the residents of Middlesex. Their report is on page 80. Is there a motion on Article 12? Yes, nice and loud. Okay. Elliot Berg moves and Lisa Carlson seconds. Discussion on the Meals on Wheels program. Anybody here from Meals on Wheels to?
Hi, good evening. I'm Lindsay Bolger. I'm not a resident of Middlesex. However, I am on the board of the Waterbury Area Senior Center.
Okay, hang on a second. I have to get everybody's permission.
I'm sorry. Is that okay?
Any objection to someone out of town speaking? Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you. I'm a board member of the Waterbury Area Seniors Association, and I'm also a volunteer driver for the Meals on Wheels program serving your community members in Middlesex. I do want to just quickly add, I think we generally try to give you an indication of what our average cost per meal is for the Meals on Wheels program. This year, it's about $12, not just about, it's $12.04 per meal, all in cost to deliver a meal to a Middlesex resident or another resident within our catchment, which is Bolton, Waterbury, Waterbury Center, Moortown, and Middlesex, and Duxbury. Federal and state funding only covers less than half that cost, so it leaves us a gap of about $6.50 per meal. We are asking Middlesex voters to help us cover that gap. I will tell you that this year we're reducing our request of the Middlesex voters by about 25%. Last year we requested, was it $20,000? Because our actual number of community members that we serve has been reduced. So our request of you does ebb and flow as the request for our services in your community ebb and flow. I just wanted to make mention that our request has been reduced from last year. Thank you.
And to clarify, it was 10,000 last year and it's 7,500 this year. Yep.
Any discussion on Article 12? Okay. Shall the town voters authorize expenditures of $7,500 to support the Waterbury Area Senior Centers Association Meals on Wheels program serving the residents of Middlesex? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And Article 12 passes. Article 13, shall the town voters authorize expenditures of $1,500 to Youth First Mentoring? Is there a motion on Article 13? Deb Wolf moves. Article 13, is there a second? Eric Benedict seconds. Article 13 has been moved and seconded. $1,500 to Youth First Mentoring. Are there anybody who'd like to speak on this article? Yeah. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Deb Wolf. I'm on the advisory board for Youth First Mentoring, and we have 6 mentors and mentees from Middlesex and a total of about 28 pairs throughout our district, which is, the U32 district and Montpelier, and we have just gone into Barry as well, where you can imagine there's quite a need. The kids who are in the program, I don't know if Mary Beth is here, but some of the pairs have been together for 10 years. Having another adult in a child's life is just life-changing. So I urge you. We also have a very diverse funding source. We have grants, and then we ask money. We have individual donations, and we do ask a little bit of money from all the towns who have kids in the program. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other discussion on Article 13? Okay, Article 13. Shall the town voters authorize $1,500 to Youth First Mentoring? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. And we have moved on to Article 14, to see if the town of Middlesex will appropriate a sum not to exceed $4,242 to support the following organizations pursuant to 24 VSA 2691. And there are 18 organizations here, each asking for $250 or less. Those reports are on pages 82 through 99. So I'm not going to read all of those. Is there a motion on Article 14? Mark Harris moves. Is there a second? Mary Skinner? Article 14 has been moved and seconded. And there's a list of these 18 organizations, so questions, comments on any of those organizations? Okay. Hearing none. We will, ready for the question, to see if the town of Middlesex will appropriate a sum not to exceed $4,242 to support the organizations listed in Article 14. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And the ayes have it. So Article 14 is passed. Article 15 is to transact any other business that may legally come before the meeting, and we can't take any binding action on this article. I do know that we have at least one person who wants to speak, which is Ella Chapin, our House rep. Are there other folks who want to had something they wanted to say under? Maybe you still have a chance, but if we. Yeah, Susan Moran has something she wants to say. Come on closer to the microphone if you can, Susan.
Whoa.
That's it.
Did I hear right? This is a chance to say something that's not specifically on the agenda.
That's right.
Okay, good. I don't know how many of you all listened probably a couple months ago when Susan organized a Zoom meeting on all the different organizations that run on volunteer efforts in the town.
The Mysteries of Middlesex Happy Hour. How could you forget the name?
But I just wanted to say that it was incredibly inspiring how many things are going on and how many people are involved and how much happens with just the volunteers, people doing things that they're interested in and know about, and it was awesome. So I just wanted to say my hat's off to all the volunteers in Middlesex, whether it's an official board or Meals on Wheels was one of them, the fire department. It was an incredible array of talents and time that people put in. So thank you, everybody who volunteers for the town.
Thank you. August Burns. She just took up here. Back again. Or okay, take turns.
Hi, I just want to say that we have a table out front if anybody wants to stop by and didn't get one of these papers that we put together. It's about Governor Shumlin's education. Scott. I painted Shumlin, sorry. It's got it in my mind. Scott's education plan, education reform plan, which will radically change our education system, essentially will take power and control out of the communities, put it into the state. He's proposing 5 districts. Our district would run from Elmore to White River Junction, there's a lot going on there. I encourage people to get educated about it, to speak with your representatives about it, and get involved to save our schools.
Are we ready to hear from Ella? Okay. Whoa, come on up. That's true. You do need permission to speak, Ella. Yes. Are there any objections to this East Montpelier resident who represents us in the House speaking before the Middlesex Town Meeting? Okay. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ella Chapin. I live in East Montpelier. This is my third. Sure, happy to. That's better for feedback also. I'm Ella Chapin. I am your state representative for both Middlesex and East Montpelier. I live in East Montpelier. This is my second biennium and my third year representing our district, Washington 5, in the House. Just going to say a few minutes of remarks, and then I will stick around for discussion into the evening as needed. I'd be happy to chat with folks. First off, just a little background. We have 150 state representatives in the House of Representatives, so each one of us represents approximately 5,000 constituents. On the Senate side, we have 30 senators, and it's roughly at the county level. We have 3 senators currently for Washington County, Senator Ann Cummings, Senator Andy Perschlick, and Senator Ann Watson. They can't be in every town meeting of their jurisdiction, so they're not here tonight as far as I can tell. Each House member sits on one committee, and we really get to dig into the policy on that committee. And last biennium, I sat on the Judiciary Committee, and now I sit on the House Environment Committee. I wanted to just touch on a couple things. I did send out, many of you probably saw a Front Porch Forum posting that I did, I think, on Sunday. And in that, there's a link to a pretty lengthy report about where we're at sort of mid-session right now. Our legislative sessions run from early January, typically to mid-May. We end each session when we pass the state budget for the coming fiscal year, and that usually happens in mid-May. It can happen later, so we're sort of there until we're done. I wanted to just touch on a couple of things. I wanted to just touch on public education and education finance and property taxes. As you just heard from August, the governor has put out an education transformation proposal that the legislature has been learning about, and we have been digging into the details as they've come out. The full proposal from the governor landed, I think, about a week ago, and it's like a 170-page bill. So we're sort of right now really being able to dig into those details. I encourage you to get informed. As you've heard, this is, we are definitely considering, because of the property tax situation, but because of other concerns in the education world and wanting to really have a robust and equitable education system, and with many school districts struggling with a number of things, including declining student numbers, the legislature is seriously considering significant change to education policy, as well as how we fund our education system. And so please do get involved. I wanted to mention that there is a survey just put out. There's a link in the My Front Porch Forum posting from 2 days ago also to this survey. It's a survey put out by our House Speaker's Office to collect public input right now on, not necessarily just on the governor, I don't believe it's just on the governor's proposal. I believe it's sort of on the different sort of policy possibilities. And I really encourage folks to take that survey. You're also welcome to send me your feedback. I will see all of the survey results for everyone in my district. The education committee and our tax committees will see the statewide results from the survey, and our House leadership will be really looking at that survey. So I have a link to it on this clipboard. There's a piece of paper out there on the table that you can scan with your phone, or you can see the link in Front Porch Forum, or you can always call or email or text me anytime. A couple of other pieces. I want to just touch on federal, the impacts that are happening in the state or anticipated to happen because of some of the changes happening at the federal level. This is highly concerning for many people. Some people are being immediately affected. Some people are really concerned about losing programs and services and all kinds of support and opportunities and jobs. It's been a really rapid fire pace. I wanted to just share a couple of things that are happening at the state level to sort of track that, understand it, and understand our role at the state level in addressing some of these federal impacts. I noted in my report a couple of different pieces that are happening within the governor's administration, within the treasurer's office, within the attorney general's office. In particular, the treasurer has set up a task force to look at and track the impacts of federal changes happening, and for better or for worse, looking at the potential positive outcomes from tariffs, the potential negative incomes from tariffs, the changes related to immigration, everything. And there is a spreadsheet that link is available publicly. So there's a lot of information out there right now, and I appreciate and just wanted to share that the treasurer has this task force going on. There are public meetings of the task force. You can attend them. So that's not hard to find, and if you want more information, you can always reach out to me. In the Attorney General's office, the Attorney General has been joining with Attorney Generals across the country to ensure that federal actions are constitutional, and if they're not, taking action in a legal manner to address that. In addition, our legislative leadership and certain committees are actively looking at what are our roles, what can we do in a timely manner, what is our capacity to respond, and understanding that and just doing our best to be prepared. We're trying not to spend all of our time legislatively thinking about what-if scenarios, because we have lots of other policy work we need to do, but we are trying to understand those roles at the leadership level, and I just wanted you to know that. The Commerce Committee in particular on the House side is working to really particularly understand the impacts on Vermonters who work for the federal government. So a couple of other pieces, we are very much focused this year on policy as a body focused on public education and education finance. We will probably not pass as many bills this year as we have the last couple of years. There's more focus and cohesion around those issues. But we are taking action on other major policy areas. There is a lot of work happening on healthcare. There is a lot of work happening on housing. I sit on the Environment Committee. We're working on a PFAS bill and a couple of other topics. So all that is in the report that I have a link to online. And you can read in depth what's happening in each committee there and reach out anytime. So just in terms of communications, I just want to say, if you email or text or call me, I get your emails or information right away. I read them all. And I'm not always able during the session to immediately respond. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. But I really just wanted you to know that I get your information when you send it out. And most of you who do reach out to me know that I almost always get back to folks. Sometimes I hope you have a little patience with me because it's going to get really busy over the next month. So I just really wanted you to know that. All my information is online. If you can't find it, feel free to come find me. And I'm happy to take down emails if you want me to reach out to you after this meeting. And so I'll stick around and thank you all for your support and your engagement. Thanks.
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you. Excellent. Okay, thanks. Maybe you can stay for pasta. We're having dinner after this. I want to make a couple of quick things. Just a reminder that if you have comments about this meeting and how it was held, anything that worked or didn't work for you, would love to hear those. So write them on the report. There's a box in the back. Or if you don't have comments, we would still like them. I want to thank everyone who spoke tonight, because public speaking always takes courage, but I want to especially honor the courage of people who spoke out on behalf of what may have turned out to be a minority view. We are all working to support our community's best interest as we see them, and it takes special courage, I think, to speak in that way. So I want to thank everyone for doing that. If you have kids in childcare, pick them up. Dinner will be here in a few minutes, and if you stick around after dinner, we will need help putting the chairs away. And what's
chairs
that?
Actually are before dinner.
What's that?
Chairs are before dinner.
Well, we're going to have to move. Yes, okay.
Right, and make sure that the ones that say town are separate from the ones that don't say town.
Okay.
And so there's two carts here. Put town in one cart.
Okay, and Sarah has a thing to say, and then I have another thing. Yes?
15 minutes until polls close. So if you haven't voted, please vote. Also, it's going to be a little awkward. We're going to have to keep the polling booth stuff here until 7 o'clock, and the tabulator here is probably 7:15.
Oh.
So it's going to interfere with everything. Sorry.
Yeah. Democracy, I know. What a pain. Move the voting.
But by the time we have all the chairs and tables set, it'll be 7.
Okay. Here's what I want to do. I want to recognize Honeybean Barrett and our fabulous microphone runners. Right? Are these guys the best or what? Lila Lee, Zeke, Hazel, Bella. Yes. Thank you so much, microphone runners. Thanks to kids. And thank you all. I think we, is there a motion to adjourn? Yes? Oh, if it was, the plastic chairs went to, yeah, talk to your school board member, Chris McVeigh, about where the chairs go. Is that the
plastic chairs,
The
not
plastic
these metal
chairs go in the
chairs.
music
Metal
room.
chairs go there.
Metal chairs here, plastic chairs go in the art room. Thank you. I think we're
And
just
then we'll
gonna
need help
plain old-
setting up the tables.
Thank you.
And I'll second.
Okay. We're adjourning.
Okay.